Welcome to Cat the Minion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. Hopefully you can hear me alright over the necessary air. I have a kind of a cheap air conditioner, and because of that it's pretty loud, but it's been real steamy here lately. This is a Cat's Hit the Deck review, and this is the Mysical Shaman Oracle deck. So it comes in this box. This is a Hay House deck. So it's this, as far as I know, all of the Hay House decks that I have are the same size, and it varies whether it's a subsidiary or like actual facts Hay House. The logo's a little different here. They're using sticks instead of regular lines. So we have this here. The box cover is really plain, but there would have been like a paper cover around it with the title on it. So the magnet side here, the flippy magnet part, it's got a little sticks on it, and then the back has some buffalo on it, presumably from the buffalo card. It did have guts inside it. You can see that I've pulled mine out because I'm keeping some other decks in here. So it says, before there was time, before there was language, before there were the sacred symbols, and then an ellipsis. So this isn't talking about even symbols even, it's talking about sort of energy essences, like interdimensional kind of stuff. The images are sort of heavily photoshopped, I believe, but they're like dozens of layers, sort of translucent, and it has a texture over it that makes it look like it was drawn or painted. I found this deck to be extremely potent, sometimes to the point of being obscure, but I think if I used it a lot more I'd probably remember the deeper nuances. But either way, whether you're going by the book or not, you're gonna get information, dense information from these. So that's the box, and there's a book with it. And the way this is set up, the cards are all numbered from 1 to 64, because there's 64 cards. So there isn't really any suits in particular. And each card has the essence, sort of the general impression of what the card means, and then it has an invitation, which is how you would approach the card if everything was hunky-dory. And then it has a medicine, which is what you're doing when the card is inverted, when the energy isn't flowing. And I find this extremely helpful, and I would say I use the book probably 80% of the time when I'm reading with these cards, because I find the breakdown to be extremely useful, and I want to know what the medicine is. You know, because I don't claim to have everything memorized. And again, sometimes I just go with a flow, and other times I'm more inclined to stick with the intention of the creators of the deck. But I do find that when the cards are in reverse, the medicine paragraphs can be extremely useful. So that's how that works. So this is illustrated by Jena DellaGrottaglia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I might butcher these other ones. We have authors, so it's a group project here. Alberto Villoldo, or Villoldo, perhaps. We have Colette Baron-Reid and Marcela Lobos, or perhaps Marcella, I don't know. So those are the authors and the illustrator as well. And then inside there's a little box. Hey! That matches the box and the book. And the lid just says the cards, the little stick ring there, and then the inside has a green lifting ribbon, and then the sticks again. Is this... Oh, it is fraying a little bit. Well, if it gets too bad, I'll just get it with the lighter. I actually keep other decks in here. So it's there. And then the cards. So this is what the back of the card looks like. They are slightly directional. It's hard to tell, but if you want to know which side is upright, it has a slight point on it. Otherwise, you can pretend that you can't tell the difference. But this is more of a... So this is when they're inverted, and this is when they're upright. Kind of hard to tell, but it's a little pointier right here. I figured it out after a while. So I'm gonna flip these cards over and just show them and sort of riff on them a little bit. I've noticed that some of these reviews of mine can get pretty long. Although, on the other hand, some of them have like 80 cards. So, this one has 64. So this is called Ancient Ones. The general idea of this is that there's ancestors that have stopped incarnating at some point and are outside the confines of linear time. And they're in a position to help you in some way. And then if it was inverted and you needed medicine, it would be some kind of struggle related to that. So the Ancient Ones. Number 1. And number 2 is the Andean Cross. Now, if you've never seen this before, it has 12 points on it. And this is related to the 12 signs of the zodiac. And then there's a portal in the middle. So this is sort of the portal, the Stargate, the transition of the journey, like where you go to get out of linear time. Right? It's a manifestation of that shift. Sort of dimensional, and then again, like time scales and things like that. So this is the arrow. Number 3. If you're comparing this to the tarot, it would be some kind of wands, very Sagittarius energy, right? It's like where is your energy going? And then if it's inverted, it's like, did you just shoot yourself in the foot? Or are you like aiming somewhere in particular? So that's kind of what this card entails, the arrow. Where is your journey taking you? What are you aiming at? What are your goals? Alright, so this is Beauty Way. This is one of the 2 cards that gives me somewhat lover's energy. There's a dragonfly here, got this sort of transformative. But this card is about like appreciating things, right? Stop and smell the roses kind of energy. And it's like the spot where you need medicine is sort of like being overly critical. You know, it's not like, oh man, things are, you know, I can really appreciate this, and then if it's in distortion, it's like, you suck and you suck and you suck too. So that's where this card comes in. And then we have the Beloved. So this is a little bit like the Lovers as well. Extremely red. So, I mean, you could get a lot of root energy out of here. But this is about, it's sort of about unconditional love. How you interacting with other people. And then the distortion is sort of like love for status, or just, you know, like an on and off switch. Like, I love you today, tomorrow I hate you. So this is expanding on the Beauty Way energy into this unconditional love for interacting with other people is a way to meter how you treat yourself in some way. Alright, so we have the Blade. I actually get this card fairly frequently. This is kind of like a swords card. There's some other decks that have similar cards to this, but the Blade it's one of those you know, murder or surgery dichotomies, right? It's a double-edged sword. If you're choosing to cut things, are you cutting something out because it's no longer needed, or it's toxic, or are you cutting something out of spite in some way, right? Are your words cutting just out of bitterness? But that's the general gist of the Blade. I'm sort of sounding kind of pedestrian the way that I'm describing it, but it's a really powerful energy. So we have the child. This card, I don't know if I've gotten that much, but it's that, you know, innocence, new to stuff, looking at fresh ideas, and then trying to give yourself room to grow without punishing yourself for making mistakes, kind of. That's the gist of that one. And then we have the circle. So this one is about like unity consciousness, right? It's like we are all one, but you see by the different hands that there's an individuals coming together as a group. And there's this sort of like portal type energy as well. I usually get other stuff from this, but in the book it's about unity consciousness. Then we have the Ouroboros, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, and then this rainbow thing here. So completion is basically what it says, right? No, in the tarot, when you get to it, like a number 10 is more completion, but number 9 is like, ooh, I'm almost done. In this deck, the completion does happen at the 9. It's sort of recognizing that that's all the digits there is, and when you get to 10, it's you're just back around to the 1 again. And we see this as a circle too, and it gives this idea of like a wheel of moving forward, of going through a portal as well. Alright. Okay, so my cards are upside down, so I'm trying to organize them here. Okay, so this is the corn. I get this one on a fairly regular basis. This has to do with abundance and growth. It also has... It sort of ties into the energy that you get from the movie Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. It's like putting energy into a project and having faith that it'll come to fruition, but then you also have to wait for that harvest to be ready. So that's what's going on with this card. And we have the Council, number 11. I do see this one on a fairly regular basis. So 11 is that universal timing number. It can also be a unification of masculine and feminine / duality number. But the Council is like higher level, multi-dimensional beings that probably have had incarnate lives but aren't right now. They're at a higher energy level, and they're just kind of watching over and meeting with each other, and then they're basically, it's like the body that forms like the guides, right? It's like, oh, we're in the guides, and we get assigned to people, and then we come down and we're available if you need help. And this card is a reminder that they are there and probably have some information. So we have Coyote. Coyote's another kind of guide, but Coyote sort of it's more like he'll stick his foot out and trip you so that you learn how to balance things better, right? It's setting up challenges and lessons that end up being difficult in some way, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just going to teach you something and it's going to be easy peasy. It's like, I'm going to give you an experience so that you can learn see how much you can learn and overcome. And it can be kind of a pain in the ass, but Coyote is a trickster. It's not Coyote is a douche who's out to get you. It's Coyote is sort of playfully nudging you into expansion. So we have the Crow here. The key word for this is co-creation. But it's like a universal link up. I don't really remember that much else. I don't get this card very often, but the key word here is co-creation. Right? It's getting a little bit more in sync with the flow of universal energies. Number 13, that death number as well. This is the Curse. Oh, jumpy. I've gotten this card on, not a lot, but enough to notice it. 14. Breaking down to 5, which is a shift or a pivot. the curse has to do with ancestral trauma, past life trauma, earlier in my life trauma. It's, you know, what distorted energy patterns have been following me personally, the soul, or me, my DNA, and anyone attached to it. And how am I going to, how do we solve a problem like Maria here, basically? You know, and when it comes in inverted, it's like, what toxic behaviors, the medicine is like, what toxic behaviors am I doing? What's triggering me? That's what this curse is about. So this is the drum, or as Ringo would say, drums. The drums. So the drum. So this is, in some way, it's connecting to spirit, but it's mostly connecting to grounding itself. I'm connecting to the earth. I'm connecting to the underworld. And there is a little bit in there about, like, operating to the beat of your own drum, that kind of thing. But if you're grounded, then you're going to be in touch with your own energy. So that's what we're doing here. And there's an aspect of tapping into the spiritual world, right? I'm tapped into the earth. I'm tapped into an animalistic nature. I'm grounded. Eagle. 16. So the eagle is getting a higher perspective. But why? Because I don't know what to do with myself. Right? It's like, do I have the balls to be myself? Like, how far am I going with this? I need to be able to see the big picture clearly so I know what I'm doing with myself instead of getting caught up in the day-to-day grind of what I think I'm doing. So Earth. 17, Earth. This is, you know, for me, this, I keep saying, like, oh, this is like stewardship of the earth, blah, 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 but that's actually the next card. This one is like tapping into community, tapping into energy, tapping into how I'm connecting to the earth as like an entity, how I'm connecting to other people. It, like, is there compassion? Is there a flow? Am I taking? Am I giving? That's kind of where this card is at. Like, can I hear the beat of the earth itself? Do I have awareness of connection to the earth and the other entities on it? So this one, Earth Keeper, is more about the stewardship, right? Protecting the earth, cleaning the earth, you know, working with the ecosystem, cleaning up garbage. But it also has an aspect of macrocosm and microcosm. I take care of myself, I clean myself, I honor myself, you know, I have a sort of like a tidy environment. I am aware of it's not like you have to be a clean freak, but it's like if you're living in a sloppy house, it's like, well, I don't have enough respect for myself to not be lying under a pile of rotting cans and dirt and trash wrappers. But if I can pick up my room, if I spend an hour picking up my room, if I brush my teeth, I practice self-care, I take a nap when I really need rest, I, you know, bathe, I'll do my laundry. That basic self-care tidiness thing, right? It's like I can have a lot of stuff, but I don't need to have garbage on it. And, you know, I'm gonna dust these figurines, or I'm gonna, you know, get rid of all these books that I don't really want anymore. Those kind of energies of just caring, of curating, of organizing, of cleaning. That's the kind of stuff on a personal level that spreads out energy-wise, right? If I take care of myself, then I'm setting an energy example that can expand to people around me. And maybe if someone's like, well, if they're taking care of themselves, I can try to take care of myself for a little bit, and it spreads out. And then it's like, well, now there's people taking care of a community and cleaning it and having greenery or a clean pool to put your feet in, or there's a really nice botanical garden, and then it expands even more. And now the energy is, okay, a bunch of us are going to go and make sweaters for oil slick penguins and clean up a bunch of plastic in the ocean, and we found out a way to deal with radioactive materials that are in the groundwater from people setting off underground bombs. That's what the Earthkeeper energy does. And then we have fire. Big honkin' hot ball of liquid hot magma. Fire is exactly that. Trial by fire, phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to take everything I don't want and stick it in the incinerator. Energetically, emotionally, physically. Another aspect, like the medicine aspect, is like, why am I a ball of rage? What do I need to work on? Right? It's like, I'm not going to be like stampeding through the china shop and practicing my arsonism. I'm going to cleanse myself with this sort of soul fire purity, right? I'm using my gut to illuminate my whole energy field. Cleansing by fire. So we're at number 20 here. Flow. This dude on this card looks exactly like Jared Leto, but like more around like my so-called lifetime, not like currently because he's older, but looks like Jared Leto. So we have 20, flow. So this is about the universal flow, right? It's dealing with frequency. It's like when you're so insistent on something that you're fighting to roll upstream, you end up making something a lot harder on yourself. It's a little bit about adaptation, but it's also about if you have goals that resonate with you, you're more apt to find a way to get there if you follow the water, right? Whether it's a trickle or a whole waterfall. It's about mastering the energy of propulsion without struggle, basically. Number 20. So 21, we have the Gatherer. There's another card that's the Hunter, that's the kind of a pair with this one. The Gatherer is like collecting resources. But this is about working on and overcoming and being away from the energy of ego of lack. It's like, I collect what I need energetically, resources, food, whatever, and I trust the universe will have enough for me. I'm not going to hoard food or money or resources. And it creates this ability to, it's like you can give other people when you're not hoarding because you're afraid of losing, but it's also if I'm not afraid of running out, I create an abundance that's in flow, because when I give away, I tell the universe that I'm ready for something else to come in too, right? It's like I don't want to be in a system of lack where it's like I'm afraid to spend $20 on supplies or snacks because I have to pay a bill. I gotta hold on to this. It's, well, let me just get these 2 supplies that I need to fix this thing, and I'm gonna get a candy bar, and I'll try to put forth this energy that the universe will provide, and then I'll get like $100 for my bill after I spent $25. That's kind of how it applies in the day-to-day life. So that's what the gatherer energy is doing. So Ghost Dance, this is the answer to the curse card, right? I'm not gonna bemoan and blame my ancestors for getting me ending up where I am now. I'm going to, the Ghost Dance is like, I'm going to honor my ancestors for the journey that they've been on, and I'm going to sort of release this like expectation or frustration at what they were going through. I'm going to release the energy, I'm going to transmute it, I'm going to move on, I'm going to in some way break that curse by not spending my time just being butthurt that they didn't fix the DNA distortion. That's what's going on there. So we have the giveaway, 23. This card I do get on a semi-regular basis. It's about freely giving energy to other people, but not at the expense of your own self, right? It's like I've given to myself, I've learned how to take care of my own needs. And now when I go out and I give to people, I might give somebody $20, I might give somebody a ride, I might give somebody a hand with their project, I might just tell somebody else that they look nice, or give someone else a heart emoji when they're feeling really down. And that is the energy giveaway. It's not somebody wants me to do all this work for them for free until I burn out and now I have nothing left for myself. That's not what we're doing here. This is I give of my own free will in a heart-centered way when I've got enough for myself, in ways that help boost other people and maintain a balance for everybody involved, right? Nobody else is going to latch on to me and energy vampire my energy because I'm leaving little energy nuggets on the doorstep for people to find instead. Because that's what I have energy for. That's what I want to give. The Heart of the Sky. I haven't gotten this card that much, and the last couple times I got it, it was inverted. So this is a little bit obscure. It's like the chaotic generative energy in the universe, but it's coming out of this heart-centered place, which is this sort of like love creation energy. It's a little bit like the giveaway, where it's like, oh, I'm just creating little pockets of interest, but it's like I have this vision and I'm going to create it here, create it there. So it's a little bit like it's kind of like in the Witches of Eastwick. They have Cher's characters making these little chunky Venus figurines, and Jack Nicholson's character, he's like, why don't you let yourself go? Put some size into it. And that's what this Heart of the Sky energy is doing. It's like, just let yourself go, create, honey, create. A little bit of Hollywood there. So that's kind of what's going on there. And the Holy Mountain. So the mountain can be like a challenge, but here it's like a place of power and perspective of it's like an earthbound way to get to a higher consciousness. It's representative of ascension, but it's like I'm going up to connect to my higher chakras, but at the same time I'm still grounding. That's more or less what's going on there. Meditative, transformative, transcendental. You know, like I'm getting over this hurdle. I am challenging myself to pull deeper through my energies or whatever. So this hummingbird, there's a card here that actually is called The Journey, but the hummingbird is like, ooh, I'm gonna go on an adventure, yay, like when are we leaving? It's like, but then you're sort of like playing double dutch to know when it's time to set out. Right, it's sort of this like there's a buzzing in the atmosphere that it's like we're gonna go on a trip in a minute, and then you're like, okay, when am I gonna be ready? That's kind of what's going on here. It's not like, oh man, it's like, okay, so when's the boat get here? So this hunter card goes with that gatherer card, but this is not as much being aware of the flow of resources, but actively going out and getting stuff, right? I'm going to go out and hunt, but I don't want to... This one isn't so much like, oh, I'm afraid I don't have enough. This is making sure I don't take more than I need. Do you see the difference? Like, oh, I've got to hold on to what I can because it's not going to come. This is like, I'm not, like, I'm going to just take what I want when I want. That's the distortion. The hunter takes what they need and then honors what they have. And it's really hard to make that distinction between the two, but you can see that, like, a gatherer energy is more passive. It's more like I'm attracting something to me so that it appears when I need it. This is I'm going out and collecting things. Right? It's like I've collected enough money to me, but because I can, I'm going to buy up all the toilet paper in the store. Now I'm just a dick, and I'm not honoring the toilet paper supply, or that anyone else might ever need toilet paper in the future. And the older timey version of that is, let me just kill all these moas because we like to eat their eggs, because it's a lot of food at once. And now, oh shit, now we don't have any more moas. Crap. That's the energy for this card. This is my favorite card in the deck. Jaguar. Number 28. So this is about, in some respects, it's about boundaries. But for me, when I see this card, it gives me this primal earth nature, sort of like nocturnal, it's almost like a dark energy, but it's like a primal feminine earth energy. And it's one of those things where if you're not respectful of the power of the energy, it'll just bite your hand. That's what I get from this Jaguar, right? Top of the food chain. But usually, a lot of the time when I see this card, I see 28 and I see 4 7s, and I get this, like Ezekiel's chariot kind of energy as well. Right? We're in a little bit of a higher zone here with movement. So there's a little bit, there's a few things going on with the Jaguar, and I would recommend reading more in the book if you get it yourself. But I love this card. It's my favorite. So then 29 here is the actual journey card. This guy's got an owl on his head. This is a lot more about like the hummingbird was like ooh, something's coming, or instead of like ooh, something's coming, it's like ooh, I'm going somewhere. This is you know, do you have your bags packed, or are you complaining? Did you get your ticket? Are you going to be ready to go when it's time to go? You know, or it's like, your train's leaving early, get on it. You know, it's like when it's there, are you going to kick and scream, or are you going to go? That's kind of what's going on there. I mean, so 30 is lightning. Now, I didn't notice this for the first several times that I looked at this card, but there's an outline of a person here behind this lightning ball. It might not be that easy to see on here, but there is a person. There's a person on that card. So this is sort of a eureka moment. It's like a shot to the brain, a sudden download. It's like sort of like the call of the cosmos, more or less. Sort of like electrical, like zzz, oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, so we have the lower world. This is sort of like past and shadows, ancestral kind of place. It's the basement, right? Where am I keeping the stuff about me that I don't want? Where's my shadow? Where's my inner child? That kind of stuff. Luminous Warrior, number 32. So this guy, there's a guy on here. The Luminous Warrior is somebody who isn't afraid of the dark anymore, right? He's sort of bioluminescent. He goes into the darkness, right, into the lower world, and he's not afraid of all the monsters and the shadows and all that, because he's in tune with his own internal light, right? His core, his solar center is shining on its own. He's got a flashlight. Okay, so 33, magic. I don't get this card that often, but this is sort of following the breadcrumbs, childlike wonder, synchronicities, little miracles here and there. I just heard miracles out of nowhere. So I was listening to Kansas Left Overture the other day. But yeah, magic. It's suspending your jaded disbelief and letting the universe be magic and just kind of follow the trail of energy. Alright, so this also has a sort of a hidden human figure in it. It's a little even harder to see than the other one, I guess. You can kind of maybe see it in there a little bit. There's some shoulders. So it's called Many Paths. So this one is, it's like the way to get where you're going isn't always what you think it's going to be. There's a little bit of need for adaptation, but it's also to have some perspective on what you're doing, right? It's the difference between, you know, just cranking away for the man, or are you doing a vocation, right? Or do you have a bigger goal in mind, or are you just crunching numbers? Are you pushing pencils? That kind of thing. So the medicine wheel has to do with self-examination or lack thereof. It's like the medicine wheel is kind of like it's like a centrifuge to sort of separate the aspects of yourself for analysis before slingshotting you out on your journey. You know, it's like a twister wheel. When you spin the wheel in Twister, and then it says like right foot red, left hand green. It's like figuring out where you're gonna go to next. Where's your foot going to land? But you do have to sort of have like an interior, go for a spin on your interior before deciding which direction you're gonna send that rocket, that slingshot. So the moon. This has to do with kind of like building up and then renewal cycles. It's like, it's a little bit like the treadmill, but normally there's an aspect of shadow and darkness, but it also, like cyclical, it has to do with, I mean, you think about the tides and the menstrual cycle as well. It's, you know, it's like build up, it's pressure, it's cleansing, it's renewal. And some of that has to do with darkness, right? Sometimes there has to be metaphorical bloodshed because we're dealing with energy, right? It's like I need to let go. I need to lose some of the pressure. This is the middle world. There's an aspect of this that has to do with being present in the moment, in the now. Right, the material world is definitely about what's happening right now. But this card also has an aspect of being in balance with the lower world, the shadow world, and the upper world, where the cosmic downloads are coming from. But it's like in order to have full propulsion of yourself in the moment, you're in this, you're sort of being spun by both the past and the present at the same time. I mean, the past and the future at the same time. But you still have to be sort of aware of the moment. Like, be present in what you're doing, more or less. Okay, so 38. Is that 37? 36. Where's 37? Oh, I had these backwards. My bad. The Mysical Shaman. So this guy's got a bird mask on. See, he's got a little shadow puppet over here of his face. What was this one about? Oh, I forgot again already. Let me think about it. No, I just forgot. I totally spaced it. I knew I was going to have a brain fart on one of these. Lost my flow entirely. Oh, that's right, okay. So he's like a storyteller. And it's the ability to sort of describe where you've been without having an emotional attachment to it, right? So like, this happened to me when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. And then you get all pissed off. You're still in this emotional attachment to it. This is a little bit of detachment to look at yourself in an objective perspective, right? It's like, yeah, this is what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. And just sort of factual story, as if you were talking about, as if you were doing a book report, basically. You have no emotional investment in it. It's this ability to detach and be able to just kind of look at the whole of what's going on more than being tied to an intense emotional reaction to what's going on. So that's at least one aspect of what's going on with that card. All right, so we have the owl. This is like a little bit more like getting downloads, but it also has to do with this like darker aspect. And I feel like my brain just exited the room once I got those cards backwards. So this is kind of like a scavenger hunt thing, looking for all the details, looking at all the evidence, and it's like not always something that you want to hear, right? Because the owl works in the night. You can see 360 in the middle of the night. So it's the nitty gritty, the information, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how this is supposed to be pronounced, but I usually read it as Pachamama. I did a reading on this somewhat recently. Basically, this energy. I think it's in one of the June astrological readings, or in a couple of them. Or, well, whichever ones I was using the round cards in, that might have been May, but whatever, it's pretty recently. And my throat chakra's going. This energy is sort of, hang on. The energy is like the earth or the universe generating this maternal energy, this divine mothering energy. The earth is sort of a stepping stone to join into just the feminine polarity in general. So a lot of people might end up growing up with feminine energy distortions. So they might not feel like they were mothered well, or they might feel uncomfortable in the feminine energy. And this Pachamama card is bringing in this earth energy of like the whole planet under your feet is a nurturing body, as an example of how to harness that energy. I've got a little bit more coming out here. Did I miss that card? I don't remember what this is. I think it has to do with the chakras, but I've spaced it. I gotta look at the book. See, my brain keeps flickering like the power was pretending to do earlier. Let me just skim the rainbow because my brain just skipped out on me again. Oh, okay. So it has to do with steps on a spiritual path, and it's talking about, it's the rainbow at the end of the storm, right? Sunny days ahead, that kind of stuff. But also it's giving you this working on all 7 cylinders energy there as well. Somewhere over the rainbow energy. So the Rainmaker is kind of like what it sounds like, right? When you say you're gonna make it rain, dollar bills, dollar bills, dollar bills, y'all. It's manifesting, but the ability to manifest what you want when you want. It's a warning of, are you doing it with like a heart-centered benevolent intention, or are you manifesting in terms of like greed, avarice, and whatever else? You might are you going to be at the top of $1 billion company and then kick everybody else who's underneath you? That would be the darker aspect of the Rainmaker. But it has to do with intense ability for manifestation and the duality involved in that. Still with the throat chakra. This is the rattle. This is like calling, this is sort of like picking up the phone to call the spirits. And it's a little bit, it's kind of like be careful what you wish for, but it's also it also has to do a little bit with the manifestation. It's sort of like you pick up the line and, you know, you might find out that your package is on its way, kind of stuff. But it's like, don't pick, like, I told you not to call me here, but if you do, it better be important. So this is the sacrifice. Now, it says to, like, the sacrifice is giving up something that's really important to you, but it's not to, in a way, to, like, hurt yourself. It's to say, like, what are you, like, unnecessarily attached to something? Are you obsessed with something? Are you hoarding something? Are you like Gollum with the precious? Like, you know, and everyone else is just nasty hobbitses. So it's like, if you give up something that you're feeding a lot of energy into, i.e. sacrifice it, is it something that's going to lessen your burdens? And that's something to think about with this card. Is it really cement shoes? But you're like, but I like these shoes. So the seer, I see this card as being similar to the high priestess. Right? I mean, it's pretty much, it is what it is. They can, you know, X-ray vision, picking up on interdimensional stuff, psychic downloads, things like that. So the serpent here, this is essentially the Kundalini energy, and it does talk about shedding your skin, and then having that vulnerability is a way to sort of gain expansion, but the shedding always comes after feeling constricted. So there's that as well. This is the Smoky Mirror, and this card is generally about dealing with and accepting that there's things that are unknowable at this time. You know, it's like some things in the universe are on a need-to-know basis. You know, you can't always watch those tarot videos about when your person is coming to you, because sometimes the universe doesn't want you to know. They don't want you to focus on that. They don't want you to know when your next big break is going to come, because you're supposed to put effort into it. That's kind of the things that go on in the Smoky Mirror. It allows you to sit with uncertainty to some degree. So this is the Sorcerer, and this is the shadow aspect of manifestation. It has to do with culpability as well. Do you own your shadow, or do you run away from it and say it wasn't me? Or are you like, yeah, I kind of fucked that up. Whoopsies. Soul Retrieval. This reminds me of some other Oracle decks where it's like call back your energy, but this has to do with, you know, pulling back your energy that's been yanked off of you, cutting ties, like sort of rolling up your ancestry and packing it away, and also sort of reconnecting with who you are as a soul person, not just your identity as yourself. All right, so that's what's going on with those cards in particular. Okay, so here's the Spiral. This talks like the Kundalini does about shedding your skin and all that, but it has to do with like a transformative thing, you know, like a They put like a maze on the floor and people would walk in it. There's also the Fibonacci sequence, so it does have to do some like with expansion and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different meanings involved with spirals, and this can hold any one that you want to, really. Sort of contraction and expansion. So this is the staff. I call it Giraffic Park because it's this deer head on top of a stick. Looks like a giraffe to me. So this is, it's like duality, dark and light, that kind of stuff, but it's also connecting, like lower and upper worlds. But it has to do with, authority. You'd see, you know, like a wizard who people look up to has the stick, the king has a scepter, that kind of stuff. It's a staff. It's a symbol of connection and possibly balance and power. So we have stand still, and this is, you know, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and sometimes you just need to take a minute. You just gotta like catch your breath kind of a stuff. It's one of those like Rome wasn't built in a day kind of energies. So we have the sun. 53. So this has a little bit to do with dualities too, because on Earth the day is made up of half nighttime, half daytime, and the sun is taking a break and the moon is up. So there's this idea of possibly resting if you're burning yourself out. It's also the idea of you can be warm, but you could also be scorching, right? You could be acid or warm. Not you personally, but just things in general that have this kind of energy. And it's one of those, like, in due time, and to realize that you don't have to be on all the time. Right? There is a warning of burnout with that card. Oh. Just ripped my fingernail. The Sweat Lodge. This is a great card. This really emphasizes the similarity between womb and tomb. Right? It's a structure that's made to be like a womb, and people go in it, and then they just sort of like purging and having a spiritual death cycle, and then you come out and you're ritually reborn. So that's what's going on there. And a lot of it too is like purging emotions, because the sweat is the water. It's Taming of the Wind. This basically just means like the winds of change, basically. It's like getting out of the tornado and catching a light breeze. Thunder. Bloody, bloody thunder. This has to do with drama and just like this constant, like, everything's on stampede, kind of like too much going on at once kind of stuff. And it's also like maybe you didn't hear us the first time. We're gonna talk, like, the universe is gonna talk louder until you hear them. So there's a couple of things going on with this card, and that is the Retrieval from the back of the stuff. It's this Thunder card, number 56. So the Time Master. So he's got an infinity over here. Apropos. This guy, he's kind of like the Doctor of Doctor Who, right? He's operating outside of the binds of time. So this is like, you get caught up in your day-to-day, or you're like, I don't have time for this, or you lose sight of your long game. This is to realize that there's grander scales going on, and that you're not just tied to whatever's going on now or what you've been doing in your past in this life or in previous lives. It's like, what does everything do together, right? We're not playing Candyland. We're doing a Rubik's Cube. So the Tree of Life. This has to do with, I mean, the tree itself is kind of like the connection of the lower world and the upper world together, right? The branches reaching for the stars, and then the roots is the grounding, and the tree trunk itself is like you just kind of try to do your thing. But it also talks about like, what are you sending out in your tendrils? What are you trying to bring to fruition? So that's what's going on there. It's kind of like co-creation, but it's like more focused. So this is the upper world. This is where your guides are hanging out. You know, basically, it's the sort of like the teacher's lounge there. Okay, so we're almost there. So this is the vision quest. So this is about, you know, going out and seeking this connection to spirit. Or in some respects, it's like, they're like, hey you down there. Like, pick up your phone. You know, your answering machine is full. But here it's mostly like this like there's a specific quest. There's like a seeking that can only be cured by a connection to this cosmic consciousness, and that's what the vision quest does. So we have water. This is like emotions, cleansing, rejuvenation, the flood waters, the birth waters, things like that. So any kind of clearing and hydrating kind of energies, and also the emotional stuff, right? Think about the moon, the tides, stuff like that. So this is Wild Woman, and this is like not being afraid to be the tall daisy, right? If you've been trying to deal with yourself by non-expressive manner, right? Any kind of hedonistic obsessions, or anything else that's not really fulfilling, it's this call to like let your freak flag fly, basically, and just sort of unfurl yourself and be yourself. So wind, this kind of goes with that other one, Taming the Wind, but this is more like the winds of change have arrived, and sometimes it can be like Dorothy up in the tornado, where it can be like chaos. But here it's sort of like, it's kind of like a magic storm that ends up just putting everything away on the shelf instead of completely destroying your life, right? It's the shift, the change that sort of destroys to create in some way. This is the Witness. This is the last card in this deck, 64. So 8 times 8 with this deck. This is like observing, right? You can, and it's not quite the same as the shaman with the storyteller. That's sort of like talking about what's already happened. This is sort of being present for what's going on, and it's sort of abandoning preconceived notions and not sort of trying to cut in or judge when there's something going on. It's like, okay, I'm going to listen to you talk about your day, but I'm not going to become emotionally attached to your life journey. You know, I don't want to be reactive to it. I want to objectively observe your narrative so that I can be of more balanced service in some way. right? And it keeps you from using up all of your energy on something that isn't yours as well. All right, so that's what's going on. That is the Mystical Shaman deck, and that's just kind of glossing over the surface for most of these cards. And some of that's because these reviews aren't supposed to be like giving a reading. It's just supposed to be talking about what the cards can do. So there's a lot more in the book itself. There's way more that you can pull out just by looking at what's on the cards, if you want to do it that way, or just sitting with them and thinking about them, feeling the energy. Sometimes I'll just be going about my day and I'll have a card cross my mind a few times, and then I'll just start thinking about the card, or I'll get a synchronicity, and then I'll get kind of like a download about a random card, and then I'll use that deck in a reading next time I do a reading, and I'll be like, oh, okay, now I know why I got this download, because I was supposed to say it during this reading. So it gives me, it kind of gives me like a dictionary or an encyclopedia for what the cards do when I get downloads like that, and I just kind of add it in. Like I usually have one specific, like a specific way that I read the Six of Swords when it's upright and when it's inverted, but I got another download recently about the Six of Swords, so now I have related but slightly alternate meaning to it that's going to, you know, rich in and bring in other information. So these cards are fairly thick. I think they might be a little bit thicker than other Hay House cards that I have, but they're also newer. I would say they're about average of the new Hay House cards I have, and it's a little bit thicker than the old ones that I got on eBay. So they're pretty crispy. They're about, they might be slightly shorter than a normal tarot deck, but they're wider. So they're a little chunk style. And they're about twice the size of a deck of regular cards. And they do shuffle alright. I mean, it takes some breaking in. As you can hear, they're pretty crispy. But they work pretty well. And they're not that bent yet, because I haven't used them like a million times, but they can get them going the other way too. So they work quite well. They're alright to, well, if they don't flip over, they're alright. I got my arm at a weird angle. They're alright to do these sideways shuffly there. And if you have kind of small hands, it might be a little difficult to do them that way, so you might have to go this way. If your hands are as big as mine or larger, then you should be alright to go this way. So, they shuffle fine. And again, it might be a little difficult the first several times, but they do get broken in. And, you know, you can see there's a little tiny bit of edge wear. Well, maybe not. There's a little tiny bit of edge wear in some of these, but after maybe 2 years, they're still pretty crispy and all together. All right, so if you would like to support more deck reviews, I'm gonna keep going until I run out of, every week until I run out of all the decks that I have. But if you'd like to help keep my channel chunking along, you can donate, energy exchange, tip jar, that's PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. I'll cat the minion. I also have stuff if you'd like. I've got coloring books, dark poetry, merch prints, actual art items, so a lot of that's going to be psychedelic, like my logo here. There's actually a version of this piece in my Energy Forms coloring book. It's called Liquid Feline. I've also got chapbook packs, which are like synchronicity stimulus packets. It's kind of like getting a few cards. Those are on Etsy. They're a few bucks each, but if you get 3 or more of them, you get 17% off, so you get a chunk there to help kind of bring the cost down if you get multiples. And I think that's it. I do tarot readings. So the list that of the ones that, the spread, oh my god, I can't even talk. The complete list of spreads for readings that I offer and how much they cost is going to be in the description box underneath this video. And then I also have my Adventures with Plastic Crack, which is my doll hobby show on my channel, which comes out on Friday which is kind of weekly when I'm able to. And then I have these, and then I've got weekly overviews that come out on Saturday, and then these reviews come out on Tuesday. And then I'm posting ads when for my art when I finish them, and at the beginning of videos, and then I'm posting Throwback Thursday art images on Thursdays, and for the next until like mid-August they're going to be from 1998, and then I'll get a different year going. I guess that's it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, check out my playlists tab, my discussion tab, and stay groovy, and we'll see you later. Bye. And all of this stuff, everything here is through the link tree. Bye.